I have yet to buy one gift. Sorry, sweetie. We'll get there, actually. Last Tuesday was my birthday. Woo! Thank you, thank you. And it was just started to be like one of the best birthdays ever. I mean, I was getting calls and people were texting me and I was getting messages on Facebook and gifts, and it was all really great. And my husband took me out and we went out for some pizza, and then what's really good is I got the DVDs from Downton Abbey, and I'm so excited to watch it. I haven't started watching it yet because I'm afraid I'll get addicted, but I'm really looking forward to watching that. And so it was really great. And so Tuesday night I thought, well, I'm just going to go check my timeline, because every year I look forward to hearing from my friends and my family. I have 900 friends. Some of them I actually know. And I look forward to hearing my family. I have this huge family, and so every year they post. It used to be called just your profile, your Facebook page, but now it's called the timeline. So every year I look forward to these messages. So it's like 9:30 at night, and I'm going on my timeline, and I looked. I was shocked. There was only 5 or 6 messages on my timeline. And I thought, sure, I appreciated the 5 or 6 people, 2 of them which I didn't even know. But it was just really disturbing. I thought, what's wrong? Where are my messages? So I thought, I went to bed maybe about an hour later, checked the timeline again, nothing. Nada, no other messages but those 5 or 6. So I thought, well, they're probably stuck in cyberspace someplace, I know. Sure, and I'm sure they're way up there somewhere, wherever that purgatory is that those messages go. And so I thought, well, I'm sure they're there. So Wednesday was the next day, and I went down to check them again in the morning to see, where am I? Nothing. Just the 5 or 6. No. So I thought, well, surely there's a link to say there's more. Right? Because I always see more. There's always a link that says there's more. And I checked that Tuesday and nothing. So I looked to see if that link, nothing. No link, nothing. Just the same 5 or 6 messages. So I thought, well, at least my family could have just said, well, sorry, Mr. Birthday, or happy belated birthday. And then, so I checked all day Wednesday. No, nada the whole day. And then by the afternoon, I started to obsess. And I started to think, what did I do with my family? Do I owe somebody money? Should I have made it to that party? What is going on? Why are they not sending me my greetings that I expect on my birthday? And I didn't understand it. And I just thought, well, what about my friends? All these friends, what happened? What did I do? Did I do something wrong? Is there some rumor about me? What is going on? So I obsessed the whole day. And so finally, at Wednesday night, I came to the point, well, so what? So what if my family doesn't want to say happy birthday to me? So what if I don't hear from anybody? I'm thankful for those 6 people, and I got texts and I got all these other things. I should be very grateful. So I reconstructed my whole spirituality, and I came to this great spiritual place in God where it was really okay that God really blessed me. Hey, I'm really blessed. I have a wonderful husband. I have a great life, great friends. And so then it was okay. So I thought Thursday, go back downstairs and turn on my computer to look at a document, of course. And I was obsessing. No, don't go there. Obsessing. No, don't go there. You're just going to get hurt again. Why are you doing this to yourself? There's not going to be on there. So I did. I couldn't help it. I was obsessing. So I went Thursday to see where my posts, to see where they were. And I looked, nothing, nada. And then all of a sudden, there's a little teeny little line. And there's this little cupcake. And it has this little candle on it. And then it says, this is what it says. It says 122 friends posted on Janet's timeline on her birthday. So I opened them up, and all these messages came. All my friends and family and people in church, thank you so much for all your messages. But I realized, at this point, how much our expectations are such a part of our life, and how they influence us so much. And this week we're doing a series called The Other Guys. And the other guys, they're the ones, I don't know if you've ever seen those nativity scenes around the Christmas time. Sometimes they're on the mantle, the figurines that portray the manger in Bethlehem. You see them outside the yards. You know what I'm talking about. And also, they're also on cards. So you see this? This is like a little card. You have your major stars, the shepherds. You have, the kings here. You have the shepherds, and you have some real major Christmas stars on this. But the other guys, they are those that didn't make it. And so we talked about Angel Gabriel and Simeon. And so Anna, we're going to talk about Anna today. We're going to look into Luke 2:36-38. And one of the other guys was a woman. And what makes her one of the other guys, what makes her so important is that she had such a profound role in being one of the witnesses of the Messiah when he came. And so, like Simeon, Simeon had these great expectations that he was going to see the baby Jesus before he died. And so Anna was the same way. She was expecting Jesus to come. So I just want to tell you a little bit about her. Her name is actually Hannah. That's that's the Hebrew origin, and it means grace. And what's really remarkable is how God used her, and that she was a prophet. I just say prophet. It should be prophetess, but she was a prophet, and she was using these prophetic gifts. And how many women in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, how many women were used by God in their prophetic gifts? And there's so many. We have Miriam, we have Huldah, and then we have Philip's daughters. We have all these examples of women prophets. And so I think it's so great that Luke chose to include her in this story. And I thought that was really wonderful that he chose to include her along with Simeon as a follow-up of this wonderful thing that happened. And so we know that she was from the tribe of Asher, which Asher was Leah's second son by her maid Zilpah. And probably the most striking thing about her was that she was old. She was old, and she was either 84 years or she was a widow for 84 years. But she was of great age, and here she was serving God when she is old. It's not easy to serve God when you're old. I'm old, and because it's not always an easy thing, because she's full of memories, and she probably had a really difficult life. Her husband died, and she was under the Roman rule, and it had been like almost 400 years, between the last prophets, which was Malachi to John the Baptist, and so. But even though she was old, she still remained faithful to God. She wasn't bitter or sour, and so Luke says that she did not depart from the temple, but served God with fastings and prayers night and day. So she practically lived there, and all this fasting and praying and seeking God. What a remarkable woman she was. And as much as I would love to be like her, it wouldn't work because I love to snack. And I like chips and all these things around me. I eat meals occasionally, but I do like to snack. Snacking is my whole life. And without my bag of Doritos and without my eggnog lattes, I wouldn't be able to function. And so, unfortunately, they wouldn't have had these in the temple. So she's praying and praying and seeking God. All of these years, decades upon decades. Imagine, she without wavering, she goes in the temple night and day, and then all of a sudden, I love the way Luke is writing this. All of a sudden, one day, everything changes. One day, the things are this way, and then the next day, all of a sudden. I love the way this narrative moves so quickly. He says, so it starts from how Anna served God with fastings and prayers night and day, and then all of a sudden, coming in, she is giving thanks to God. And she spoke she spoke of him to all those who looked for redemption in Jerusalem. It's just amazing how things can change in one day. One day you meet somebody. One day you come to know the Lord, everything changes. One day you have this trial that goes on, and then one day something happens, and God God does things. And so one day, it's just, her life just changed. And she's praying, and somehow she discovers that the very one she was waiting for, all this time, coming in, she just found out that he was born, that he had come, that the Messiah had arrived. It was that Messiah that the angels were talking, that Gabriel was talking to about when he talked to Mary. He said, he will be great, and he will be called the Son of the Highest, and the Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, and his kingdom there will be no end. So she immediately gives thanks to the Lord. Immediately, this whole life-changing thing happens. It happens. And then she's began to speak of him to all those who looked for redemption in Jerusalem. Now, what that means is not, you get the impression of people just looking around, okay, where is he? Or, like you're looking for somebody to come, or you're looking for the bus to arrive if you're taking public transportation, or something like that. What this means is, this doesn't mean that. What it means is she means expecting. So in Greek, the word lux means expect. It means to welcome. It means to accept. So this is what's happening in her life. And so she immediately goes and finds her audience. Who is her audience? Her audience was all those people that were expecting, waiting for Jesus to come. And there were at least three groups of people at that time who with different viewpoints of the Messiah. One group believed that this Jesus should be a natural leader. In other words, he should be a military leader to overthrow the Romans. And some people just didn't have any hope at all, so they didn't have any beliefs. But there was this one group who thought they were going to have a supernatural Messiah, and perhaps they were the ones that perhaps they were familiar with all the Old Testament prophecies about the coming king. So whether you were expecting, depending on what group you're on. So this is what I like about her. She didn't just post a message on her Facebook page. If Facebook been around, she didn't say, "Oh, hey, everybody, Jesus is here." She just went. I can just picture this. She probably just looked for these certain group of people. And maybe she did talk to all of them, but I'm sure that she was really impressed with these people that were looking for him. Some of you may know Samra, and last Sunday she wore this really great T-shirt. She and Mark are having a baby, and it had a baby download symbol on it. And so Samra is expecting this beautiful little girl, and Mark and Samra, they're waiting for this little girl to come. They know she's going to come when she's supposed to. They don't have to wait till next Christmas. They know she's going to come. And so Anna was looking for people like Mark and Samra, except they're expecting Jesus to come. They're expecting him. They're waiting. And these are the kinds of people that Anna is looking for. And so you're probably wondering, okay, so nice story. So big deal. So what? Why is this important, Why is this important? We live in Berkeley. What does this have to do with anything that in my life? And so when I was looking through these passages, I was thinking about my own. I have to confess, I was thinking about my life. And I was thinking about how I would have loved to have been in that group. If I was around, except for the snacking thing, I would have loved to have been in that group. And would have I been in it? Where would I have been? Would I have been expecting, or would I, and it made me think, and it made me think about how I really want to raise my expectations. That's my goal. When I saw her life is such an inspiration that I want to raise my expectations, and I want a deeper faith and in God's promises and in His willingness to work in my life. And moreover, I want to believe God for great things. I want to be like her. I want to anticipate Christ. I want to expect Him to work in my life. And so then I realized, positive, high expectations are so important. Here's the thing. Our expectations, they shape our lives. Often they do. And because, they come from a complex milieu of beliefs and experiences and people and things and circumstances, and there's such a mixture. When you think of expectations, there's a mixture of emotional scenarios. Do you think of children waiting for Christmas, and you think of, for other people, Christmas is so hard because they have everything is magnified, everything is going beep, beep, beep at Christmas. If you've lost some money, if you're lonely, if you've had some difficult relationships, going beep, Christmas, beep, beep, beep. This is your life, beep, beep. And this beeping happens, and so it's not always a great time for all of us. I remember the year when I was a teenager, my parents had a little talk with me right before Christmas, and they said that they said that not to expect anything hardly for Christmas Day, because they were having some kind of financial problem, and we had 6 kids in the family, or I think 5 at this time, and so they said that I'd probably get one present, and I was really nice. Well, all right, it's okay. So this was a week before, so the night before Christmas, I anticipated, okay, I'm going to have my gift, everything's fine, just like the post, the Facebook post, everything's fine, I'm good with it. So I remember thinking about this, and I came down the stairs Christmas morning, and I looked over to the fireplace, and there were piles and piles and piles of gifts. And one pile had my name on it, with piles of gifts with the stocking and everything. And I guess my parents caved. But I remember, I guess they just couldn't go through with it. I'm sure they probably got a credit card and just charged it all. Who knows? But I was so delighted because I got more than what I expected. And so how do they really shape our lives? When you have people who have high expectations, they believe it's going to happen. If they're looking for a job or a place to live or maybe a future spouse or whatever, they think it's going to happen, or they think it's going to happen soon. And so what happens, they become persistent. They look for these things. And they end up, people who with high expectations can be very successful individuals because they pursue, they go after what they want. And now and also they take advantage of opportunities. So when an opportunity comes, they take it because they have these high expectations that things are going to work out. And you could go from one to the next, I don't know. But and then people with low expectations, they just give up too soon. It's like, if we never thought it was going to happen, then all we need is one failed attempt to prove that we were right all along. One setback, and we give up. So in other words, I didn't think it was going to happen anyway. So it didn't happen. See, I told you it was right. It was never going to happen. I told you. And so that's kind of the life. That's kind of how it plays out. And of course, there's some low expectations. Expectations can be reasonable. Like I don't expect to be a quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers anytime soon. And so those kinds of things. Or our dog is not going to be in the Westminster Kennel Show. And so these things are reasonable. So it's okay. And so, but you know what? Raising your expectations can be difficult. So what do I do? What if I'm struggling with these low expectations of my life? Low expectations of what God's going to do. Low expectations of Jesus. And or maybe you're struggling with just one area. Maybe you're a person with high expectations most of the time, and there's one area in your life, and you're thinking it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen, and you're praying, and you're feeling like it's never going to happen. And so what I want to just share a few things that I think will help, and that we can use Anna as an inspiration as she came and prayed and sought God. And one thing that she did, the first thing she did, she thanked God. She thanked God right when she found out that Jesus had been born. And so you can start by thanking God for things in your life that He has done. And you'll find that your expectations on God will rise as you begin to thank God for your life. And when I get discouraged, I have to remind myself of just the remarkable, the wonderful things God has done in 360 Church in my life in so many ways. And the other thing that we have to do it's really important, is we have to let go. We have to let go of the I have to let go of my expectations I had on other people. That's really tough. You know, some expectations are reasonable. You know, like if I go to a restaurant, you know, I expect what they're going to give me the tab. I probably should get a meal. So some of those are reasonable in the professional situations. But when we put our faith and our expectations in people, in our spouses, in our parents, in our family, in our friends, we are going to become frustrated. And we're going to become disillusioned, and we're going to become judgmental. And what's going to happen is we're just going to be really disappointed. Because those people in your life, they can't be God. They can't be God. And so if I put my expectations in my friends and my Facebook friends, you know, I'm going to be disappointed because they can't be God. And so raising my expectations is when I let go of everything that my expectations I had in other people, and church leadership too. Some people get really hurt by people in church, and it keeps them away from God. So if I leave my expectations from people and give them to God, then my expectations will be in Him. And so, you know, so what can I expect? All right, so I give my expectations to God because Jesus has been born. And Anna's in the temple and she finds out Jesus has been born, and her expectations have been fulfilled. So I give my so what I expect. What do I expect? What I expect depends on what I'm looking for. So in other words, if I go to Macy's, how many know what I'm talking about? When I go into Macy's in San Francisco, I go right to the sales and I go right to the shoes, the 50% off. How many know what I'm talking about? Have you ever seen those shoes? And I go to size 9 and I go right there. And so I go to Macy's and go to those shoes because I go there because I'm looking for those signs. When I go to stores, I'm looking for those signs, so I'm going to find them. And so the same way, if you're looking for God, things that God has done in your life, if you're looking for ways that God is blessing you, looking for things, you'll find them, I believe. So, what do we expect? What are we looking for? And so it depends on what we're looking for. Now, you know, Simeon and Anna, they were looking for Jesus. And Anna's audience was looking for Jesus. And what were they looking for? What did they know about Jesus? I like to look at the book of Isaiah. It gives us a really good idea about what they were looking for, what they expected. And Isaiah says, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder. And his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." And Isaiah talks about the Redeemer of Jerusalem, the light to the Gentiles. And also is a painful part. It was the one who has borne our griefs and sorrows. It was the one who by his stripes we are healed. It's the one in the Messiah in whom the Spirit of the Lord, he said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me to preach good tidings to the poor, to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives in the temple, and the opening of prison to those who are bound." So, you know, so Anna's praying, and this is what she finds out. She finds that he's here. He's here. This little baby is here. He's here. I don't have to wait anymore. And in some ways, you know, our lives, our world is something like, you know, Anna, you know, she faced so much poverty, you know, there was so much poverty there, probably not as much now, but there was violence there. She faced violence, and all of these, it was just a troubled time that she was facing when she was praying. And we face these troubled times too, as we did this week in Connecticut. And we think of these troubled times, and it's not unlike what Anna was going through when she was praying in the temple. And closer to home, just last week, someone was shot down the street from me, a young girl riding her bike. And so I had to they had a memorial on the sidewalk just right down the block from me. Where I walk, I go that way all the time. So I had to take I took a little candle there and I had to place it on her memorial. And so this is the kind, and I'm talking about expectations this week, but this is the kind of thing that I had to do. And so it's so much the world, but you know what? Jesus is the same today, yesterday, and forever. And Jesus has changed what we can expect. The Redeemer has arrived, and nothing that happens to us has ever changed the fact that our Redeemer lives. So we can expect that Jesus Christ, regardless of what happens, is the same yesterday, today, and forever. We can expect him that if we confess our sin, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. We can expect him to be the great high priest. We can expect him that there's no other name. There's no other name given under heaven in which we can be saved. We can expect to be baptized in the Holy, and on and on and on. We can expect all these things. And we can expect that in all these things we're more than conquerors. I'm just going to pray right now. As we pray, I'm just going to share a few more expectations with you. We can expect that nothing can ever separate us from love. Nothing that ever happens to us. Nor things, the Bible says, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other created thing shall be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Jesus Christ our Lord. And here's the most important thing, and nothing that happens changes this. Wherever we are, we can expect the greatest and most significant life-changing promise